We are now moving on to our top 5 overrated teams in the league. There will definitely not be any controversy or any dislikes or any comments telling us that our opinions are incorrect. I don't see that happening whatsoever.
No, that's not going to happen.
So,
There's no way I'm getting you two angry at me at all with this list, by the way. Not a chance.
Not a chance. No, they weren't mad about the Nick Mullins decision. They weren't mad about, putting, certain places in the tier rankings. They're definitely not going to be mad about this list. So, in my opinion, what a top 5 overrated teams list is, these teams have expectations. They have some kind of hype from some area, and we just don't see it. We just don't agree with how highly ranked this team is in a certain area. And I think that's about it. We're going to go in the same order, Kev, Mitch, and then myself to end it off. We're going to start Kev. Number 5. Who is your 5th most overrated team? I know one team in your list, but I don't know the other 4. So what do you got at number 5?
So number 5 was mentioned in the comments. And I think that everyone, when they look at this team, they look at their quarterback, and we just assume that they're automatic Super Bowl contenders. But there's a lot of questions that we have this year about I even had last year about the Green Bay Packers, and people are like, no, everything is fine in Green Bay. And Mike McCarthy is out. And we're still, everything is fine in Green Bay. We have Aaron Rodgers. It's all good in Green Bay. But they are, I am concerned. I'm not sure where this team is at. I'm not sure how good this team really is. So I have the Green Bay Packers as my number 5. Honorable mentions, by the way, on my list to the LA Rams and the Chicago Bears. But I did not put them on my list. But I have number 5, the Green Bay Packers. I just think that we just fall in love with Aaron Rodgers too easily. We just think that this team is better than they are because we love watching Aaron Rodgers, and he's one of the best quarterbacks who ever played this game. But as a team, I don't know if they're as good as we want to believe that they are. So that's why I have the Green Bay Packers as number 5.
All right. I definitely can see that happening. They might be appearing later on. They're definitely the reasons. I definitely agree with that. Mitch, you got a number 5.
At number 5, also honorable mention. I just want to get people really mad at me. Honorable mention, New Orleans Saints, but they're not on the list.
Ooh.
At number 5, Baltimore Ravens. Okay, and there's 2 reasons. The first reason is Lamar Jackson. I really like Lamar Jackson, but I don't know what he's going to be like once teams study his film from last season and realize he didn't really throw the ball and realize that he couldn't really effectively, consistently throw the ball. And I don't know how effective you can be as an offense when you're running the ball that much and your passing game is not that effective. So I really just need to see Lamar Jackson take steps forward to be the quarterback for this team and to be the future for this team. And I don't know if their offense is good enough to really be a playoff team. Defensively, I do worry that they did lose they lost Mosley, and they did lose a couple of their edge rushers in Terrell Suggs and Zadarius Smith, who are big parts of their team and their leadership core. I know that they added Earl Thomas and they added some late signings to replace those guys, but I just think that the way that this division is shaping up, I think there's 2 teams ahead of them, and people continuing to say that the Ravens made the playoffs last year, so they're going to be a playoff team this year. There is turnover in the NFL, and I don't think some people are taking that into account, so that's why I have them at number 5.
Interesting. So Kevo had them in the number 1 or in his underrated list, and you have them in the underrated list. So
yes,
interesting. I like it. Definitely like the difference there. Number 5. These first 2 teams, I think, are just getting a lot of hype from the media because of what they are and what they represent, and based on the off seasons that they had. But I think coming into 2019, I don't think they're going to be as successful. So keep that in mind here. At number 5, I have the New York Jets. I think a lot of people are hyping the New York Jets to be this sleeper team, this team that has a lot of hype, a lot of excitement, a lot of young talent. And from some accounts, I see some great players. Like Quinnen Williams, I think he's going to be terrific. I think he'll be one of the best, if not the best rookie from this draft class. But I just don't – Sam Darnold, I've always thought is overrated. I have never liked what he's brought to the table. I didn't think about it in USC. year one, he was all about the Hollywood glitz from Colin Cowherd and whatever, and I just didn't see what everybody was talking about with Sam Darnold. So I don't know if he's going to take that big step in the second year because I didn't really feel it as much as other people. Le'Veon Bell, great running back in his time, but he has taken a year off. Is he going to be able to come back so quickly into this New York Jets offense that's completely different scheme than his Steelers? We got a decent receivers. I mean, nobody's like a star, but Robbie Anderson had a really low year last year. I don't think he did anything with Sam Darnold. Quincy Enunwa, I think, is probably the best receiver in my opinion. And Jamison Crowder, he's coming in here. He had some good, decent years with the Redskins, but is he going to stay there the whole time? Is he going to be healthy the whole time? I don't really know. And I think the reason I'm questioning them more is because they've gotten all this hype about, oh, here comes C.J. Mosley in here. Look at all this talent that they've got up and coming. I just don't feel it all the way. I think there is some good talent here, but overall, I'm not getting the hype here. I still think they're going to be third in their own division. So I don't think there's anything much that I can say as like a positive for the Jets going forward. So number 5, I got the New York Jets. Kevo, what do you got here at number 4?
Number 4, this is a team that we had. The NFL Network had at least 3 of their top 5 games. They are fun to watch, for sure. Patrick Mahomes throws better left-handed than Eli Manning throws right-handed. Yes,
Facts.
I said that.
Facts.
But the Kansas City Chiefs are my number 4 overrated team. I think, again, this is kind of the same as the Green Bay Packers in the sense that we love Patrick Mahomes. We love that offense. We love Andy Reid. We love the kind of guy he is and what they do. But this offense is not going to be as good as people think next year. You got the Tyreek Hill suspension. You lost Kareem Hunt. You got Frank Clark, but that defense is still not as strong. So they're going to be fun to watch. But in terms of actually winning, the purpose of this is to win the Super Bowl and win football games. The Kansas City Chiefs are not going to be as good as people think. So I have them at number 4 on my overrated list.
All right. Fair. I can see the points. They're not on my list, but I can definitely see why. We had big hype last year. Almost got to the Super Bowl. So, Mitch, what do you got at number 4?
At number 4, I have the team you had at number 5, which is the New York Jets. The New York Jets, I still have as the 3rd best team in the AFC East, which just in that saying that statement, they're overrated because people say that they're going to the playoffs. Some media members have said that they're going to the AFC Championship game, which is quite the stretch. And mostly West Coast media in itself is overrating their quarterback. So if Sam Darnold is really going to be this great player, sorry?
Do you mean East Coast? You said
West
Coast.
West Coast. West Coast media.
What do you mean West Coast, though?
Colin Cowherd, Daniel Jeremiah, guys that have gone to West Coast schools or are in the West Coast because he is a USC quarterback. But New York Jets fans, I think, have high expectations for this team that I think they're arguably a couple years away from being the team that they expect this year. Now, the main reason why is I still don't believe their offensive line is good enough to be a good enough offense to take them where they want to go. And I don't think Sam Darnold is good enough to take them where they want to go. Sam Darnold, I think still he needs to prove to me that he's going to be effective this year as a starting quarterback that's going to be in the top half of the league. I don't see that. I see him as a bottom 10 quarterback in the NFL right now. And with this sort of talent surrounding him, I don't think that's good enough to be a playoff team. Looking at the receivers, I like them. I don't love them. The offensive line, back to them. I still have huge questions at the left tackle and right tackle spot with Beachum and Shell. I really like the trade for Kelechi Osemele. He'll help a lot, especially in the run game. But I'm not sold on that offensive line, which was one of the worst units last year. Running game, I think they paid way too much money for positions that are going out of style in the NFL. Le'Veon Bell at running back, C.J. Mosley at middle linebacker. I like both of those players, but they overpaid for both of them. And there is aspects to their team that I like. Quinnen Williams and Leonard Williams. It's a nice interior duo. I do like their safeties, Jamal Adams and Marcus May. But overall, secondary is still weak. Corners are still weak, I should say. and their pass rush. I don't know if they have that edge rusher that's really going to be a difference maker on their team. So I still think they're a couple players, maybe a couple seasons away from being the team that a lot of people expect them to be this year.
All right. Definitely agrees that they were my number 5 team. So I like the reasoning there. At number 4, another team that I think is getting quite hyped because of what they represent, the Raiders. Raiders here are my number 4 team. This division with the AFC West is very interesting. Of course, we have the Chiefs that won their division. They did very well. Got to the AFC Championship game. The Chargers, I think all of us really like. The Broncos, who Kevo put on his underrated list, and I think are a question mark for me. Then we have the Raiders, who John Gruden, is built here as we're going to get all these draft picks. All these players that we need, Khalil Mack, Amari Cooper, they're gone. All right. We're going with this new experiment of getting drafting these players. Who did they draft in the first round? Colin Farrell, who we all thought was a huge reach, especially considering all the talent that was right there. And Josh Jacobs, who I think is a good player. Also Jonathan Abram as well. I think Josh Jacobs is good, but is running back their big? You need to get that.
He's a running back.
He's a running back, a guy that the position you're not very fond of, especially in the first round, if anything else. I think, it's quite a stretch.
The Patriots pick him.
Of course.
Just kidding. I still think the value that the Patriots got for Sony Michel wasn't great, but, he helped the team, obviously. So
he got the only touchdown in the Super Bowl. Right? Yeah, why not? Anyways, for me, I feel like the Raiders just represent they should be this powerhouse because they got Antonio Brown. All the teams are going to be like, this is the team, right? We got to hype this team up. And a lot of the media, I think, has done a decent job of doing that, but I don't think this team is that good. Their defense is still not very good. They got LaMarcus Joyner. It's a good signing. I like that. Maurice Hurst, I think, is a good player as well, especially for the 5th round pick that they got him in. But some of these guys, like Vontaze Burfict, not feeling it whatsoever. I still think they need a lot more retooling, and I think some people think that they can win this division, which is crazy to me because I don't see it right now. And of course, I think Derek Carr is not good. I know Kevo has made his points, but I still am not a believer in what Derek Carr.
I have a question though. Do people actually think all I hear from Raiders, about the Raiders, is that they're not going to be any good? I never hear anyone go out there and be like they're taking that step this year. I just always hear criticism about what they're doing.
I feel like
how is that overrated? That's my question.
I feel like there's a media hype around them. I feel like there is.
Really? I don't. I always hear the media they suck. I never hear them say they're great.
I've heard people say that they're, because of what they've brought in, all this, Antonio Brown having this glitz about the Raiders and what they bring, and plus their division. I feel like I've just heard more about them being this team that can win their division. I don't think so. I don't think they can win their division at all. So that's why I have them here.
I agree with both of you. I don't hear a lot of people falling in love with the Raiders, but at the same time, I think that there was a lot of higher expectations about Mike Mayock would be able to do in terms of a draft. And I don't think that, considering what we've learned of Mike Mayock over the years, I don't know if that draft was as good as we expected from Mike Mayock.
Well, we don't know. They haven't played yet, so.
That's true. But I actually like the Josh Jacobs pick, but I do think the Farrell pick was a bit of a reach.
All right, Kevo, number 3, what do you got?
Is I am about to get some hate that Mitch decided not to take hate. So I want to go back to the NFC Championship game. Everyone is talking about the pass interference penalty, but the New Orleans Saints had a over 10-point lead over the LA Rams in that game. They had the opportunity to absolutely obliterate the Rams and put them away. They let them back into the game. Their offense could not execute. Their defense couldn't make a stop. The Rams exposed them in all ways, shapes, and forms. And I know that I'm not saying that this team is not a playoff contending team, but I think that people are a little too high and a little too sympathetic about what happened with the New Orleans Saints. Yeah, was it a bad call? No question it was a bad call. But there was more to this story than what the New Orleans Saints is telling you here. So I have the New Orleans Saints as the number 3 most overrated team in the National Football League. And I don't think Drew Brees is as good as people are thinking he is. He's a legend. He is, no question. I think the loss of Mark Ingram to my underrated Baltimore Ravens is a big loss. And I just don't. I think that I think teams are going to be also prepared for what Taysom Hill is going to do this year. So I don't know how effective he's going to be. But I have the New Orleans Saints as number 3 as my most overrated teams. Not to say they're not a playoff contending team, but I don't think that they're a Super Bowl contending team.
I think the biggest thing that concerns me about the Saints is how their offense produced at the end of last season, and most specifically how Drew Brees played at the end of the season. Like, we talked about it many times. After that Cowboys game, he really declined. But not only that, but like they barely scored any points against the Eagles at home in the playoffs. They basically were stagnant against the Rams for the most part in that game. And both of those games were at home. And, they were expected to put up points in both of those games, and they didn't. So I don't know. I'm a little bit worried about the Saints in terms of if their offense doesn't produce at the clip they were, can they still be that team that is that Super Bowl contender? I don't think they're in that category right now. I know a lot of people think they're like the best team in the league, and that's fine. But I still think that they're a team that's borderline playoffs. I don't know if they're a Super Bowl team. So I agree with Kev. That's why they're an honorable mention.
They didn't make the list, though. Interesting.
No. Do you want to hear who's on the list?
Well, let's go. Number 3. Who do you got?
At number 3, Kev Will already brought them up. The Kansas City Chiefs are the 3rd most overrated team in the NFL. And it's because he hasn't got suspended yet, which is absolutely ridiculous. But Tyreek Hill probably won't be playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's the first thing. When Tyreek Hill does not play for the Kansas City Chiefs, you are not going to have the teams like, let's just put out here, the teams like the Patriots double teaming him on every single play, allowing for other players to have one-on-ones and matchups. Literally, the Patriots double team Tyreek Hill every play, and other teams did that as well. That significantly hurts your offense. Now you're expecting Sammy Watkins, who gets injured a lot, to be your number 1 wide receiver on the best offense in the league. That only was elite because their offense was the best in the league. Their defense was atrocious, which means that if their offense is not elite like it was last year, your defense, which is still not very good, is going to be on the field more, which means other teams are going to be scoring more points on you. I'm not sure that a rookie in Hardman can replace at all what Hill did. I'm not really sold on this receiving core without Tyreek Hill. And the offensive line got worse. Mitch Morse is gone. The running back situation is fine. Like, I don't really think it matters. And I love Andy Reid as a coach, but I think teams this second year with Patrick Mahomes, they're going to be more well-equipped, better prepared for what he does well and what he doesn't do so well. And I still think like he's the best quarterback in football going into this year, but there's going to be regression there. Every year with a historic level offense, you see them regress. You don't see them go up. Like, there's no going up for this offense. There's only going down. Now, you switch sides to the defense. Yes, Frank Clark was a great add, and I think everybody's just chalking up that this defensive scheme switch is going to be the reason why this team gets better. Look at their secondary. Look at their corner position and tell me they're going to be able to cover Dillon one-on-one in the slot. Like, seriously, it's not going to happen. So any team that have any decent passing game, they're going to light them up. So they're going to consistently be in shootouts with an offense that isn't as good as last year. That's why they're overrated.
I'll take the touchdowns. Go ahead and score in the slot. Yeah, they're not on my list, but I definitely see the reasons for both of you guys. All right, so number 3 for me is a team that Kev O has already brought up as well, the Green Bay Packers. Why does everybody, when you think of the Packers, why is there a reason as to why they think everybody's going to be good? Like, they're always going to be good because of Aaron Rodgers, who Mitch did put on his overrated list for sure. And I was like, all right, put him on there, please. Like, I just had to put my mention in there. Wait, what? He's gonna go somewhere, or he's doing something. Oh, he's number one. Okay, I was like, hold. I thought you were doing hold up. He's number one on the list. Perfect. Even better. Makes the point even better. I don't. Last year, if you look at what he didn't like blow the world away. Like he just game managed football. I'm sorry, he was a game manager last year. He had good games. You know, he had some solid performances. But in certain moments, the Vikings game on Sunday Night Football, and the most glaring to me was the game against the Patriots, where the fourth quarter he did nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
He had the most throwaways in NFL history.
That's insane.
And that's what, like, people are like, well, he only threw 2 interceptions because he threw the ball away every time.
He was not good.
2 interceptions if I run out the pocket and throw it out of bounds.
He was basically playing the opposite of Eli. Eli's like, I'm gonna take that chance. Aaron's like, nope, just throw it away. Throw it. No, you can't intercept it if it's out of bounds. 25 touchdowns as well. That's quite low for a guy that.
But I disagree with this point. Like, you're not. Are you accounting for all the ads they had this offseason? Are you saying those ads are overrated?
I think their defense is quite well. Like, I think their defense got better. I think their offense is overrated. I think that's what pushes it over.
That's fair, but I don't know if their offense needs to be like top 5 for them to be good. Does it? Like, if this defense is going to be top 10, does their offense need to be 8?
In order to get in this playoffs, it might have to be close. I won't say it has to be top 5 necessarily, but like, what has their offense brought to me? You know, or to us as a whole. Like, their offensive line, Brian Bulagas, he's one of the best in the game. But, you know, I just don't see the receiving core besides Devontae Adams doing anything worth a damn.
Do they need anyone besides Devontae Adams?
Well, they didn't do anything. They went 7. What was their record last year? 7-8-1.
Yeah, because their defense wasn't as good as it's going to be this year, though. I would argue that.
I agree with that, but
I would also say that their scheme on offense will be better.
How many more games are they going to win with this setup, though? I don't think they might win 1 or 2 more. But I feel like people are like, this is a playoff team, and I
think they are.
I'm very questioning it. And of course, my biggest question is Matt LaFleur, who, by the way, just tore his Achilles the other day.
What the heck was that? How do you tear your Achilles as a coach?
He was playing a pickup basketball game and he tore his Achilles.
Oh my freaking god!
You know what? All the contracts. I think Patrick Mahomes had it in his contract. He couldn't do damn worth his shit in the offseason. They're like, all right, no wrestling, no basketball, no football, no nothing. Well, okay, football, but like no activities whatsoever. Anyways, so yeah, I'm very questioning what Matt LaFleur is going to be as a head coach. We saw all the tension with him and Mike McCarthy, with Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy. Is Matt LaFleur going to come in here and do that much better of a job? I don't see it. Why they're here at 3. Kevol, who do you have here at number 2? Or is he going to go? Oh, he doesn't have a face right now.
Oh, Kevol.
We might have to go back to him.
Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, there I am. Sorry about that.
There he is.
Okay. I need you to hear me out.
Uh-oh. This is the New England Patriots. It's coming.
This is going to be a little bit controversial. I understand by both of you guys why you're seeing this team as a contender and underrated and all of that. But I still want to see them prove it, and they haven't yet. Last year, they had, and by the way, it's the San Francisco 49ers. They had a ton of injuries last year. And yes, they could be healthy this year. But I'm in the position with them that I need to see this team healthy before I'm going to start proclaiming them in this higher level. I want to see them prove it.
So this is the Chargers from like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's like we had Jerick McKinnon was on the IR. When I start seeing this team produce at the level that you guys think that they are, then I'll be there. So if we do a mid-season ranking, I will probably have the 49ers higher up if they're doing better. But at this point in time, I'm not ready to put the 49ers at that pedestal that a lot of other teams are. So that's why I have them number 2 overrated, because and really one of the other things that I think is an important thing with the San Francisco 49ers is the improvements that they have made, and they have made improvements, have mostly, in general, have been acquisitions from other teams, and their drafting, I still think, needs some work. So I want to see this team healthier. I want to see a better draft come out of them. And
I really liked their draft.
I thought their draft was pretty solid.
This year was probably better than the year that we all fell in love with, but actually didn't turn out to be very well. So I need to see more from the San Francisco 49ers before I put them in this.
I think their draft last year was solid too.
With the draft with Reuben Foster?
No, last year, Mike McGlinchey and Dante Pettis. It's not bad.
The draft 3 years ago. Sorry.
Okay. Well, Reuben Foster was really good, and then he just was a dick. So, I mean.
No, he got hurt too. But yes, he is a dick.
Yeah, that's not really their fault. All right.
I'll get heat for that.
That's fine.
All right, Patriots number 2, right? Or number 1, all the picks.
At number 2. The Houston Texans. The Houston Texans, I just don't know if they're going to be able to keep Deshaun Watson on the football field with him getting hit 4,000 times a game. Like, is this going to be okay? Like, are they going to be able to keep Deshaun Watson upright? I still don't think their offensive line is that much better, if any better, than it was last year. And it was arguably the worst in the league, maybe the Vikings, but they were up there as well. Will Fuller on paper is a great player, and he needs to stay on the field. If he doesn't, their offense takes a significant drop down because they lose that explosive ability. And we saw that at the end of last year.
Absolutely.
Defensively, they have like 4 or 5 really good players, but their secondary is still weak, and I think it arguably got weaker. I mean, they lost Tyrann Mathieu and Kareem Jackson, who are 2 of the best like hybrid safety corners in the league, and they replaced them with Bradley Roby and Tashawn Gibson. I think that's getting worse, in my opinion. I see them as, they're arguably the worst roster in this division, but they have the second best quarterback, which makes people believe in them. And I think that Bill O'Brien is on the hot seat. I could see them finishing last in this division. I see a world where that does happen. Now, I have them currently in 3rd, but I could see them in 4th. That's why they're overrated. I think the Deshaun Watson factor is making people believe that they're an automatic contending playoff team, but I just don't see it.
Well, great minds think alike, because my number 2 is the Houston Texans. I got to agree with a lot of the points you made, because obviously we have them in the same rank. Deshaun Watson is a very good quarterback. He's very talented. And I think, again, that's why there's a lot of reasons as to why people think, okay, this team can win the division. It's a very competitive one. You have the Colts, who did a very good job of bringing themselves up, and I think are going to be one of the better teams of the AFC moving forward. You have the Jaguars, who I'm questioning a little bit about their stuff, but they still have a really good defense. And the Titans, who have put the pieces together. It's just all about Mariota's play. The Texans, for me, their offensive line, quite frankly, it sucks. Like, there's nothing that's going to be able to block Deshaun Watson. Only the great Michael Vick can be able to escape some of these sacks, because it's insane how many times he's getting pressured. Ridiculous. Will Fuller had a great year, first half of the year, got hurt, and then you could see the production of the offense decline as it went forward. So that's a big step. He's a great first-round talent, but he needs to stay on the field. Defensively, they lost Tyrann Mathieu, who I think was a great selection for the cheap contract they had, and they just let him go. Jadeveon Clowney, is he living up to that kind of potential that we saw him? I don't really think so, personally. J.J. Watt did have a great bounce-back year. He's still going to be healthy. If he's healthy all 16 games, he'll be J.J. Watt. But I think there's a lot of pieces to this team where it makes it believe that the AFC South is going to be to the Texans. And then also think about this. Remember in their playoff run, they won their division, they played the Colts, and then got destroyed. They didn't play anything. They didn't play worth a damn. So
they had a really weak schedule last year.
Exactly. And remember when they played the Eagles also as well. They had a chance to clinch that division really quickly.
They lost against every good team they played, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. They did not come up in the great situations. To me, this team just feels like they have some good talent. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins is a top 3 receiver. You could even argue number 1. But overall, as a full unit against a very tough division, I don't see the greatness that is the Houston Texans here, which is why I have them here at number 2. All right, Kev, go on with your
Rams
here at number 1.
Pick. I don't hate that pick, by the way. But I don't have him on my list, but I don't have him on.
Oh.
So you're about to get angrier. For those that are angry, you got you got angry.
Oh, I already know it. I should have guessed it.
You got angrier because I think the San Francisco 49ers, and now you are about to get angriest. Listen, great acquisition. It is fair. If you want to say that they had probably the best offseason in the NFL, I'll grant you that. I will absolutely grant you that.
The Patriots?
Is there something to be excited about here? After years and years of absolute infutility, boondoggling, messiness, terribleness, absolutely. Would it be great if this team is as good as we hope that they are? Yes. But like the San Francisco 49ers, I need to see this on the field. My number 1 overrated team right now is the Cleveland Browns. They are 10-30 against the Baltimore Ravens. They are 58-75-1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the two preeminent teams in the AFC North. Look, I'm not saying that this team, I think that this team can compete for the playoffs, but I'm not convinced right now that they are the AFC North champions, that I think a lot of people are penciling them in. I still think that there's a lot of work to do there. I'm not sold on Freddie Kitchens being the Sean McVay wizard that the Rams have. I think that they probably should have went with a veteran coach, considering some of the players that they have on that team. I'm excited about them, but I'm not sold that they're where everybody else has them yet. I think will they compete for the playoffs? Yes. Will they win the division? No. I'm not picking them there. So I have the Cleveland Browns number 1 as my overrated team. I want to see them do it before I start the Browns are going to the bowl. That's all I'm saying.
They can compete in the division, but they're overrated. And then they had the best offseason, possibly, in your opinion, but they're overrated.
They haven't won anything yet, though. And we've already crowned them as AFC North champions. They haven't won anything yet. That's what I'm trying to say.
I can't wait until the first play of the game in the first week when Odell takes a 95-yard slant to the house. And then
Baker Mayfield.
But we haven't played that yet. We have not seen that.
But I will say this to Dylan. It's not Christmas, bro.
It is. It's Christmas in my house. It's a new apartment. Cleveland Browns. By the way,
look, it's like the Toronto Raptors. Everyone here was like, we saw this team win in the East, and they were number 1 seeds, but we weren't giving them the credit until actually got to the championship. I think the same thing with the Cleveland Browns. They just need to prove it to me. That's all.
I think this is the wrong year to say that for the Raptors. I feel like this is the wrong year to say it to the Raptors because they're in the finals.
It took a while for the Raptors to get that credibility that they have now.
I feel like if anything, you're going to maybe compare them to the Celtics if you're thinking they're going to fail because they didn't do anything. I don't know. It's just me. All right, Mitch, who do you got at number 1?
At number 1, there is a history of teams that come up short in the Super Bowl that absolutely stink the following year. Now, I'm not saying the Rams will stink, but I do think that they might miss the playoffs. They are the number 1 most overrated team in the NFL. Sean McVay's offensive scheme was figured out pretty effectively by Bill Belichick. I think there's going to be a blueprint going forward with the Rams where teams are better against their offense. And Jared Goff, I've said many times, overrated system quarterback. I don't think he's a guy that can carry a team back to the promised land. Does anybody in this chat know who their starting left guard, center, and right guard combination are? Because they are absolutely awful. Okay. Brian Allen at center, Joseph Boom at left guard, and Austin Blythe at right guard. Austin Blythe started last year for them, but he was their worst offensive lineman. Their offensive line won't be as good as it was the last 2 seasons. They have a number of old players. Andrew Whitworth at left tackle, They have Clay Matthews, who we've seen regress every season at middle linebacker, Eric Weddle at free safety, who they're very much counting on replacing LaMarcus Joyner, Aqib Talib as their best corner on their team. And they don't have a lot of depth. So that being said, they could be hit with injuries, and significantly, that will hurt their team a lot. And I mean, this team brought on Blake Bortles. Do I gotta say any more of that? Okay, so the LA Rams, they're overrated. I just think that we've seen it many times before. Super Bowl losers, they take a step back. I think this is the season where the Rams take a step back.
Great minds think alike. Number 1 for me, the Los Angeles Rams. I don't think, like, you look at the team that they had last year and like, all right, we're putting the pieces together. This is a Super Bowl contender, and they got to the Super Bowl, but they got absolutely exposed, and that was the team that we thought was really going to do something. This year, they've downgressed. You obviously just heard what Mitch said with a lot of the points that I was thinking as well. The only real big thing for me is they got Cooper Kupp back, who is one of my favorite receivers in the game and really did help out that offense. Now, their offensive line is pretty bad. If you don't take in Andrew Whitworth to account, look at all the other talent and tell me that's a good offensive line. You have 4th round, Brian Allen as a center. You have 3rd round, Joseph Noteboom, from last year. Like, is that really that great? Austin Blythe wasn't that great, wasn't even that good last year. Rob Havenstein was okay. So this line is not very good in my opinion. Jared Goff. For as much as Kevo, I gave grief for putting Nick Mullins ahead of him, I'm not still going to be here and say that Jared Goff is good, because I don't think he's that good. He had good games over the course of the season. He had good performances, but as a consistent 16-game season plus the 3 games in the postseason, it wasn't there for me. He had good performances like his Dallas game for sure, and then some other key moments. But overall, Jared Goff did not hit where you would want him to hit, especially for the number 1 pick in the 2016 draft. You know what I mean? And especially for Sean McVay's offensive scheme. You want him to do more. Todd Gurley, the biggest point, he had a great year. And then in the playoffs, all these injury concerns were popping up. And that's a very big red flag, because if you don't have Todd Gurley being Todd Gurley, and you don't have C.J. Anderson anymore as a backup floaty out there to help you over, this could be a huge concern for them. I don't know whether Todd Gurley's going to be hurt in the 3rd game of the year and all the pressure on him is gone. Like, who's going to step into that role? Who do they have if they don't have him? Defensively, a lot of old guys, like Mitch said. I do think Dante Fowler is probably one of their biggest exceptions to that. I think he's still a good player, but Aqib Talib, Eric Weddle, Clay Matthews, I mean, Jesus. And then Marcus Peters is horrifically overrated from past whatever he did in Kansas City in his first year. So I don't see the hype around this team. I mean, I see the hype. I can see why people do it. And, of course, they just made it to the Super Bowl, but they really disappointed. And I think coming into this year, I think they're going to take a step down. I think the 49ers have a great chance to win this division, in my opinion. And the Rams could be looking for a wild card spot, might not even make it.
And something we said, we didn't even say Todd Gurley.
That's what I brought up.
Yeah, geez. They don't have Todd Gurley. They don't have their best offense. They don't have their centerpiece of their offense.
Yeah, they don't have C.J. Anderson as a backup. So, who are you going to use even if he's gone?
And that receiving core is
it's good.
Yes,
I like the receiving core. I think it's pretty good. That's probably their only saving grace here on their offense. If there's,
I'm not as sold as you guys are, but getting Cooper Kupp back will be huge for that team. But it'll be. I don't hate your top 2 picks.
I'm concerned about losing Sue too.
Yeah, that is.
Tenzel Smart is starting on your defensive line.
Tenzel Smart.
And then look at their backups. I don't know.
I'm actually shocked you didn't have him in here, Kev. I really
what happens if Aaron Donald goes down? This team is
done.
effed.
They're done. They got no depth. No depth whatsoever. So that's why they're my number 1 overrated team. I can't see them. I can see them maybe making the playoffs, but I think they're going to take a big step down from what they did.
I think I looked at mine more overhyped than maybe overrated. But I'm not disagreeing. I don't dislike your list.
All right. All right, that is our top
The
five.
thing is also with Kev's list, I think that those teams that he put there are actually properly hyped. That's where we disagree. Is you think they're overhyped? I think they're properly hyped.
Properly. Well, as far as this Browns pick, we'll see how that goes. All right, that is our top 5 overrated teams. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you're watching on this solo.